and hawks and all sorts of other raptors around that would find them a tasty snack. And it didn't seem to be a whole family, it just seemed to be 2 of them, which is quite unusual. So perhaps the others are in the distance foraging elsewhere. Look at those long claws that they've got, very powerful claws. So they can dig through the hard substrate, the sands and the clay, in order to dig beetles out, look for scorpions, and all those little things. Here we go, coming out now, not worried about us at all. Where's your friend? Your friend perhaps not as relaxed as you are. One of the things I absolutely love to do is get my guests out of the vehicle and actually get them to sit on the ground and wait for the mongoose to come out and carry on with their day. Very much like how we're sitting in the vehicle now. We waited patiently. That often happens as well. They're very curious creatures. But I think Byron has managed to fend off the gremlins and has found you a giraffe.
And we have indeed found a giraffe, and we've focused on those long legs at the moment. Wonderful. It's a beautiful female. We found a group of giraffe, or a journey of giraffe. Some people also refer to them as a tower of giraffe. There's some buffalo wandering through this area too. Some of the other giraffes have just moved off. There we go, there's a buffalo through there. It's always lovely seeing these giraffe feeding. They're so graceful. Just wandering past. And they walked across the road right in front of us. Nice to see that beautiful, that gait of theirs, the way their legs move when they walk. There's lovely sunlight this afternoon too. It's still fairly windy. The wind has picked up quite a bit this afternoon. I think possibly bringing in some bad weather. See that tongue. There we go. See that tongue stick out and wrap around the branch to pull the leaves off. They've got amazingly long tongues. It's about, I think some of the bigger giraffe, the big males, their tongues can reach the length of about 45 centimeters, which is very, very long, more than a ruler length. And James Richard, just getting back to your question from earlier, James asked which cuckoo is the largest in the area. And I was saying possibly a Jacobin. They're all very similar in size, but what I read is the largest is actually the Levalent cuckoo, who used to be known as the striped cuckoo. Looks very similar to the Jacobin, except for some streaking down the body. And that is the largest. It's about 39 centimeters long. So that is the largest cuckoo that we get in this area. Those giraffe was starting to move off. Wasn't that great? Nice little surprise. And all these buffalo just off to the left. The herd moving through here, trying to find a bit of grass to feed on. They really are struggling at the moment. Very peaceful this afternoon. So relaxing. It's really great to be out here. It's still very, very warm though. It's been a hot afternoon. It's amazing how the weather's changed in the last 2 days, from the morning to the afternoon. Yesterday morning too, also had a bit of rain or cloud cover. This morning, same thing. We thought it was really going to rain and it was building, and then it missed us. And but the afternoons have cleared up and become really, really warm. Oh, wasn't that nice? A little surprise. Buffalo and giraffe. Fantastic. Let us continue. We're still heading back towards Djuma in a westerly direction, so driving into the sun for a little bit. Oh, there's a buffalo about to cross the road in front of us. Just hang on a second. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. You first. This is a female. Just joining the rest of the herd. Oh, great. All right, let us continue. And while I do that, let's see what Taylor's up to.
There are any leopards around. It's lovely and cool down here. David, don't you wish we could just drive the rest of the game drive up and down over here? Degrees Celsius cooler than it is on top. This would be a very good.
It looks like Taylor's got some gremlins now, but I found an interesting bird up here that I'd like to show you. One that we have seen before, right up at the top of the tree. There you go. One with that very long tail, and it's calling for us at the moment. Let's listen to the call quickly. Anyway, that is a magpie shrike, but while I've stopped here, I've found something else very interesting. I'm going to jump off quickly. Hang on a second. Oh, great. Look here. This side, Voldy, sorry, this side. Look at this. Can you see this little guy over here? It is I'm not going to disturb it or pick it up because it is very dry at the moment, but that is a Speke's hinged back tortoise. Trying to get away from me. Like I said, I don't want to pick him up or disturb him because it is very, very dry at the moment, and tortoises rely so much on storing water. Look, he's crawled right in there, trying to get away from us. But luckily we didn't disturb him at all. Often what happens is if you do pick up tortoises, which you should never do, they release the water that they store as a defense mechanism, but that can then cause dehydration, especially in dry conditions like this. But this is a different tortoise that we don't often see. So we get two tortoise species in this area, and the one is the leopard tortoise, the quite large leopard tortoise, which everybody's used to see. And the other one is this little Speke's hinged back tortoise. The carapace is a lot thinner, a lot smaller. It doesn't get that big mound that the leopard tortoise gets, and it has got a little bit of a hinge at the back of the tortoise shell, or the carapace, which overlaps slightly, and that's how it gets its name. That is great. Just shows you when you're stopping, you could look at little birds or something small, and things happen around you all the time. That was really great. I've really enjoyed this afternoon so far because we found different things. We found the jackal, we found the reedbuck, the tortoise. We saw a cuckoo. Unfortunately, we didn't get to show you, but they're definitely out there, so we'll still try and find them. Saw the bee eaters. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Andre, I'm glad you enjoyed that magpie shrike. Apparently it's your favorite bird. I do like them too. Beautiful long tails. Taylor seems to have a signal back, beaten off the gremlins. Let's see what she's up to now.
Obviously, the gremlins don't want to hear me speak today. Maybe they've heard enough of the sound of my voice and they keep playing horrible pranks on them. But somebody should inform them that it's not April yet and they should not be allowed for such jokes. Now, we did carry on checking the drainage line, and I apologize, Nyala Road is notorious to be a bit of a dodgy signal spot, but we're back in full force and we're still checking along the drainage. And we're making our way towards the dam cam to have a look and see if anybody is around. Perhaps Henry's there. We could check on Henry and see how his injury is doing on his back. And maybe there's some giraffe, maybe there's, I'm hoping really for some elephants. That's why we are going there, to try and find some elephants that would possibly be splashing around. And I'm sure that there have been elephants the entire day in that area. Oh no, I believe the dam cam is down. Sorry about that. I will just have to go to the camera itself and we'll have to have a look like that, won't we? We're coming up to it now. We're not full. Oh, you know what else we could do? We could double check and have a look if the crested barbet nest is still active. We're going to do that. What does that sound like to you, David? There we go. So we're coming around to that, was it an amarula tree, I think it was, or an apple leaf, one of the two. We'll have a look at it now. I can see it in the distance. And again, lots of zebra footprints. They seem to be all over at the moment. I think I've seen in the last couple of days more zebra than I've seen impala. I scan the distance, I can see the zebra, I can see some kudu. So long. Oh, we've got some nice kudu bulls. That's going to be really beautiful. So let's cross the dam wall and let's cross it to get to the other side. Oh, we've got a giraffe though. Wow, you blended in well to the trees. You can see him just moving over the top of the dam wall. I didn't even see him there. A combination of the sun in my eyes, and he looked very much like a tree. So his camouflage is working quite well today. Oh, let's have a look here. Hi, Mr. Giraffe. There he is. Beautiful big boy, but he's going back behind his tree. That's okay. David, look at those beautiful kudu in the distance. Now, it's quite a distance away. We'll try and get a little bit closer. But have a look at those beautiful males crossing the open there. You can see the dam cam. Hello, dam cam. How they're all walking in a straight line. Isn't that beautiful? Being backlit. There you go, getting to a little bit of a trot. Not quite comfortable out in the open on a windy day like today. Nope, now they're getting into a bit of a gallop. Look how easy they cover the ground. They've got such big strides on those long, dainty legs. And it seems as though they're heading for the hills, looking for some shelter, where they'll be able to utilize their best sense, which is, of course, their hearing. And an impala. All varying in ages. The oldest seems to be taking up the lead here. And then two youngsters following quite closely behind. Stopping to have a little look. While they're out in the open, both of them are having a look. Oh, that's a nice photo. Oh, they're almost mirroring each other. They did exactly the same movements. Here we go. All the horns are lining up now. All the stripes matching. And the one that's sort of closest to us didn't seem to have the biggest body, but it definitely had the largest set of horns, and we see that sometimes. I definitely noticed it down in the Eastern Cape on the southeast coast of South Africa. where the kudus here didn't have the, or down there, sorry, didn't have the biggest bodies but had massive horns, and up here they seem to have a combination of both. They seem to have really big spiraled horns as well as big bodies to go with it. But let's go across the dam wall. Now it doesn't seem like there's anything in the water, but we'll have a look. I'll have a scan from the distance, and if there isn't anything there, well then next bet will be to go to Chele Pan. Oh no, it doesn't look like there's much going on over there. Right, but let's go around and see if Chele Pan has perhaps got something happening over that side. Nothing really happening at the dam now. That's all right. Oh, but we've got a little virtual starling. Let's see if you're going to land for us. I think it may. I'll try and roll into the sighting. You can see it sitting up on that dead branch there. Hello. Very hot. You can see how its beak is wide open, trying to cool itself down, dropping down straight to the ground. You did that quite easily, considering you look quite hot and flustered. But I suppose you can't let the heat get you down, and you have to keep eating. Very nice. I'm surprised that we're not seeing a few more birds splashing around at the water, because even something like a bird needs to try and cool down, and the best way to do that, well, it's to have a little bath and actually clean your feathers the good way. And the starlings in particular don't mind the water. You often see the Cape glossy starling, the one with a bright orange eye, having baths on regular occasions. Yeah, who's been walking here? It's just the buffalo that have been coming up and down the entire day. Perhaps we'll have to head back to the elephants that I told you that we saw very early in the drive, but they were moving through quite a dense patch. Maybe they would have popped out, and I suppose they were actually going in the direction of Chele Pan. What? We'll have to see if we're going to get them. Look at that cloud, how it's building up. That is quite beautiful, don't you think? It's almost like a wall of clouds is engrossing the sky. You can see how it's built up vertically now and is spreading horizontally. I think there could be rain coming. This is going to be an interesting cloud to watch as the next few hours pass, because I suspect we're going to see some lightning coming from that. Wouldn't that be nice to catch some lightning, some spectacular bolts in the distance at the back of the clouds? I think that would be quite nice to see. And I've been saying for the last few days that's definitely something that I would like to catch, are the bolts of lightning in the big cumulonimbus clouds. And at the moment there seems to just be lots of cirrus and cumulus clouds around, which will hopefully develop at some point into big thunderstorm clouds, very much like the one we just saw. But we need lots of them. Okay, I'm going to carry on making our way towards Chele Pan, my favorite little watering hole. And while I do that, let's go back to Byron and see where he is.
I'm back on Juma, Taylor, and no luck just yet. Just been seeing a few impala dotted around through the thickets. Seen a lot of elephant tracks on the roads recently. And hang on, there we go. As I say that, we found the elephant. There we go, have a look. They're just up ahead here. It looks like a nice herd. Yeah. Dotted around. Oh, great. My favorites. Fantastic. Oh, there's one screaming in the distance. Doesn't sound too happy. can hear them communicating off to the right here. Kevin has asked us a question about the family dynamics of elephant, and do herds ever merge into one herd? Do they split up? Yes, Kevin, depending on the time of year, availability of food and water, I have seen herds merge and move around together when they are looking for food and water, especially in the dry season. There's a nice big adult female. And then Kevin, and then depending on the, usually in the summer, you might get those herds splitting up again and moving into different areas, and the close-knit family will stay together. But yes, elephant herds can merge at times. See if I can move forward a little bit. There's, like I said, quite a few elephant around here, spread out nicely through this area. The younger one around here. Look at them feeding, and this one that Wiem is focused on now, feeding off an acacia tree. Very, very sharp thorns, but it doesn't seem to bother them. It's amazing how these elephant are able to feed on some of these branches and trees. And you can hear the branches breaking around us from by the other elephant. Lauren has asked us a question regarding the pregnancy of an elephant and how long are elephants pregnant for. And Lauren, it is very long. It's 22 months. The gestation period of an elephant is 22 months. So it is a long time. Look at this little one nudging the mother, or the larger one rather. I'm not sure if it is the mother or not. Very possibly, if it is that close to her. But elephants are very social animals. So within a herd, you'll have the females interacting with all the youngsters and all the youngsters interacting with the adults. But generally, the female will only suckle her own calf. Yeah, so 22 months, Lauren, it's a long time. Very long gestation period. So David in Napa has asked us an interesting question again about the herds merging, and if a single matriarch would then guide both herds into areas to look for food and that. David, I don't think it would be a single matriarch. I think it would be the older elephants in the herd. The reason for that is they probably remember where to find food and water, and they will lead the rest of the herd to those areas. So I don't think it's necessarily one matriarch. It could be a number of dominant elephant within the herd, or older elephant rather. And even if you watch elephant herds in general moving around, even though there is a matriarch that looks after the herd in terms of safety and taking them from one place to another, often the movement of the herd isn't always determined by her. The other elephant could decide and will move, and the rest of the herd will follow. But the matriarch does tend to, how can I say, she will try her best to look after the herd in terms of their best interests, so which areas they need to move into. But once they move into certain areas, they can spread out and move all over, and she'll just follow and move with the herd. These others seem to be moving a bit closer, so let's sit tight here, and maybe we get some elephants coming quite close again. We've been so fortunate the last few days with wonderful elephant sightings. I'm so happy to see them. I love spending time with them. Oh, look at the little one. Hello. Oh, this is amazing. You can see they have been splashing water and mud on themselves. We're just going to sit quietly as they walk past. Isn't this fantastic? Yes. See, that's a big male at the back, the last one to cross the road. There he goes. It's amazing how quiet they are as they move past us. That was incredible. Such a lovely, lovely sighting. To have that whole herd come past. That little one, various ages and sizes, and that big male at the back. Going to move forward for us a little bit. It's going to move very, very slowly. What a wonderful sighting. Oh, looking into the sun a little bit now. But an elephant silhouette isn't always a bad thing. Look at that, that's just lovely. It's huge grey animals moving through the bush. And they're so relaxed. Listen. Oh, there's a lot of vocalization going on. So did you hear that grumble, that low frequency grumble or vocalization that the elephant give off? And then there was a screech from another elephant in the distance. And that could usually mean it's possibly a younger elephant that is trying to suckle and the mother's not allowing it. I've seen that a number of times. And those youngsters then get very upset and they screech and they make such a loud noise. And I think that's possibly what that was, because the rest of the herd have stayed very calm and relaxed around here. So I don't think it was a distress call or anything serious. I think probably just an upset teenager or youngster that is not getting the milk at once. Look how that little one climbed over that branch. Christy has asked us, are there any animals in the bush that wag their tails just because they're happy? Christy, I don't think so. I've never seen it. Look at that. Speaking about tails, that one's lost half of its tail, that elephant. And that could be from a number of things. And that's what it's meant to look like. And that one's lost it. It could very possibly be from ticks perhaps that have infected the tail and caused the tail to fall off. That has happened in the past. Maybe when it was younger, it damaged its tail. It's unlikely it would be from a predator in this area, but that can happen in certain areas. I've seen up in Zambia especially, where elephants cross the Zambezi River on a regular basis. A lot of elephant there without tails. That's because the crocodiles come past and try their luck, and they grab a tail and just end up with a piece of the tail from the elephant. But Christy, getting back to your question regarding animals wagging the tails, I don't think so at all. I think the reason the tails are there is to keep flies and insects away. They are used occasionally as warning signs. So animals like lions, if you're tracking them or approaching them and they are feeling threatened and they are going to show signs of aggression, they will flick their tail from side to side very, very quickly. So that is a clear indication that they are aggressive and they're not happy. Elephant too, they'll often cause or make this tail stand up straight or straight back and stiffen that tail, and that's a sign that they're also not happy. So they'll use them to show that they're perhaps aggressive or unhappy or feeling threatened, but I've never seen them wag a tail like a dog would to show that it's happy. I think it's mainly to keep insects and flies away. Such an incredible sighting. Very special. I'm so happy with this afternoon's drive. It's been really a lot of fun. We've seen some great stuff already. Hope all of you at home are still enjoying it. All right, they're moving off further into the thicket now, so we'll leave the herd and maybe spend some more time in search of other animals. But before I do that, Daniel has just asked an interesting question. Daniel would like to ask, have or do elephant ever give birth to twins? Yes, Daniel, they do. Oh, there's another elephant sound in the distance. Daniel, I've never seen it personally. I think it's very difficult. I've seen young calves of similar age that are possibly twins, but I didn't see them at birth, so I'm not too sure. But I do know of records in other parts of South Africa and Southern Africa with elephants giving birth to twins. So it does happen, yes. Anyway, let us continue. Thanks for that question, Daniel. It's still very warm, still quite muggy. I still don't see any serious cloud build-up. Waiting for it. I do hope it rains tonight and cools everything down. And it sounds like Taylor's got some predators for you to look at.
It is crazy what is going on. The Kahumas had killed another buffalo. Now, I don't know if they killed this between the game drives, because apparently they were all over on Torchwood and now they're back here, so perhaps they were quite split up. I didn't hear how many lions they had on the other side, but they're back in Vuyatela, which is good news. Oh, listen to that. Now those youngsters are fighting over the carcass. It doesn't even look like the females have opened it at all. So that is absolutely incredible. You can see them growling and fighting and chewing on those very soft bits, which is the easiest spot for the cubs to get into. You can understand why there's a little bit of tension around that small gap. Those little ones' teeth, unfortunately, are not strong enough to cut through the hide just yet. No, they all have to make do and chew in the same spot. That is incredible. So then Kahuma's killed a buffalo the day before. They killed a buffalo this morning, and then they've killed another buffalo in between drives. That is incredible. And of course, they've got the other carcass still to feed on. Those two are having a big argument. It seems to be one of the older cubs that is making all that noise and growling, while the others groom themselves, keep each other clean. I can't imagine they would be starving with all the buffalo they've eaten over the last few days. Seems as though they're feeding on perhaps some of the intestines. You can see they've got a little bit of feces on their nose, so maybe they were trying to eat all the skin that surrounds the intestines. Very nice. Both of them have got faces full of dung. Sorry, I'm just taking a little sip of water. There we go. You can almost see right inside. Now, here's a dirty face. That was the one that was making all the noise and causing all the commotion. They seem to be taking turns. There we go, trying to grab a bit of the intestine. Pull, you've got to pull hard. Oh, they're coming right over to say hello. I think they're going to the rest of the pride. Oh no, just going to plonk themselves down right here. Oh, look how dirty you are. Sis, if that was me, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I don't think my mother would let me inside the house. But luckily they don't live indoors. But that is very dirty. Just counting, there are 5 females here, adults here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all cubs are here, and one of the Birminghams just laying in front, fast asleep. I can't see which Birmingham it is at the moment. Now I wonder where the other Birmingham is, because yesterday afternoon we had both boys. We had Mfumo and Tinyo both present. But not this afternoon. And this morning I didn't see him either. I didn't see any Birminghams this morning, but I believe there was one. I think Byron got to see him. Ah, thank you, Kirsty. Kirsty says that it was Mfumo that was with the pride, so I assume that it is him that is laying here. Perhaps Tinyo is not going to stick around anymore because the females have finished their estrus cycle. And it is sort of the way how it goes, isn't it? They have an argument, Tinyo and Mfumo, over a few days that the lionesses come into estrus. And Mfumo is really the one that hangs around and seems to look after the Nkahumas rather than Tinyo. He seems to prefer his time around the sticks and occasionally come through to the Nkahumas. But thank goodness it is starting to cool down now. That breeze is very welcoming. Well, the vultures are going to be around in this area all day from tomorrow. Now, you won't believe it, just before we came here, I saw a herd of buffalo actually coming down in this direction, which is going to be quite interesting. Sorry, Kirst, I've completely lost the name out of my head and I don't want to make a name up now. Debbie. I thought it was Debbie, but just in case, like this morning, I was making all sorts of names up. Sorry, Debbie. Debbie, you want to know how close all the carcasses are to each other. They're almost placed out in a triangle. I apologize, my hands are very dirty. I had to pull a stick out from underneath the vehicle, so they're nice and black now. It was a burnt stick, so I've got sort of charcoal all over my hands. Now, they're not far away, probably about 200 meters, maybe 250 meters away from the second carcass that we found. From Torchwood, probably about another 100 meters, maybe 150 meters. So we're not far at all. We're in very, very close range. Look at that one's face. Oh, my goodness. You look like you had a great time. You look like my brother after he has eaten a plate of ribs. Barbecue ribs, that's what he looks like, and almost exactly the same, even getting some mess around his eyes. I always found it quite funny how you were able to do that. The messiest eater you have ever seen in your life. Now, I'm the complete opposite. I'm a bit strange. I have to eat the ribs and anything with a knife and fork. Hello, little one. You enjoy your buffalo bum? It doesn't even look like they've eaten the eyes from that buffalo, just having a little glance over there. So it can't be too old. I wonder when they did this. Oh, maybe they've eaten the eye. No, it seems to still be there. We just can't see what's happening on the other side of its face, unfortunately. They have got food for days. Well, they better eat as much as they can off of this buffalo, because they'll need to move on to the one that we found earlier today. Otherwise, the vultures are going to see it and devour the carcass. Now, Susie, you're wondering how sure we are that they killed this buffalo. Well, because when we came through here this morning, I think I drove Mumba Road about 3 times. I didn't see any kill over here. And the buffalo have still been hanging around. Remember, we saw them we saw them briefly when they looked sort of panicked after we spent some time with the lions. And then they indeed did move north from there. They looked like they were going south, but they turned around and they came north. So I suspect that maybe while they were moving around, maybe the pride was split up completely. Like I said, I didn't hear how many they initially had when they found them on Torchwood again this afternoon. So I think that they definitely killed this buffalo. I don't remember seeing this one dying at all, or any buffalo really around here from this morning. We're going to hang around with the lovely Nkuhumas for a little bit longer, but I know that Byron has got a beautiful African sunset to show you.
I do indeed, Taylor. One of my favourite times of the day. We said so yesterday. There's not as much cloud cover around, but we've got this beautiful silhouetted tree with the sun setting behind it. I always say this, depending on where you are around the world and the time of year. Time of day. Depending on the time of day, it's always nice to have a little sunset drink. Sundowner, as we always call it in the bush. And you can see these elephants right in front of us. And they're preventing us from going past. We've been sitting here for about 5 minutes. And they're very relaxed, but there's no chance of us getting past them. So we're just going to sit, enjoy the elephant, and enjoy the sunset. They're so peaceful. There's so many elephants around, but there are some, looks like heading towards the water. So I'm hoping that this female decides to move. Otherwise we'll have to just drive around her. And then maybe we get some elephants drinking. Haley, I'm so glad you are enjoying the sunset just as much as I am. It's really, really lovely. It's like a male has joined these two now. Sheesh, look at that. Look at the power. Just it's almost like he wants to move it so he can come through. Oh no, he's trying to get to some of the roots, it looks like. Catching the last little bit of that sunset in the background. Let's have a look at that. Just about to drop beyond that tree line. But that golden color, just amazing. I'm not sure if you can hear, there's some hornbills calling in the tree off to our right. We can't really see them from where we are, but I can just hear them. There they go again, listen. just up in that tree. Here comes this male. Well, he got the female to move out the way, but now he is in the road. Doesn't look like we're going anywhere anytime soon. Christine, thank you for your comment. You're saying that you think every drive should end with elephant because it's so peaceful. And it is, it really is wonderful. Oh, there's a lot of elephant around us. Wiem and I are basically surrounded by elephant at the moment. Not necessarily close to us, but whichever direction I look in, there are some elephant. I look across the way, through this little drainage line, there's some elephant down there. Okay, I am going to try and make a plan to get around this elephant, because it does look like the herd is moving down towards the water. I'm not too sure, but we did see some water in here the other day. So maybe we're lucky and we get some elephants drinking the last few drinks of water. So bear with me a second, but I think stay with me. Sorry, sir. Let's see if he's going to move. I don't want to disturb him. I'm going to back up and rather go around. No need to try and push him out the way. Okay, let's do this quite quickly. Like I said, stay with us and you can see how much fun it is trying to get around elephant as opposed to going past them. And then hopefully we get those, the rest of the herd down at the waterhole drinking. Let me see. I think I've found a little gap here. Oh, sorry, little one. The young elephant is a little upset with us trying to get around him. He's going back to the mother. Don't worry, we're almost around them. The joys of having a Land Rover just to get around roadblocks like this. Okay, let's see. These elephants are coming out into the open ahead of us. Some of them have just moved past. Just trying to see. I'm sure I saw some water in here the other day. Let's have a look. Just to have a look. Oh, there is water here, but they're not coming down to drink. That is a pity. That is a pity, but look at the herd that we've got behind us. Isn't this fantastic? The sun's just dropped, but we've got beautiful light. Still a little bit of an orange haze in the distance on the horizon with that sunset. But look at this herd of elephants spread out over this area. And Tammy's made a comment about the elephant, and Tammy says it's amazing how these elephants are able to move so quietly and peacefully and gracefully, even though their size is so large. And yes, Tammy, it is. It's interesting. It's very interesting to see these massive animals move through the bush with such great ease. And you know what? I've seen elephants climbing areas that you'd think they wouldn't be able to get into or get around, and they're able to climb steep embankments up and down, and also very, very quietly when they want to. They can be very quiet when moving through the bush. This is a very, very peaceful afternoon. It's a pity, but I think, I think this is potentially part of the same herd we saw just a few minutes earlier, and I think they have been drinking already this afternoon. It did look like they had come from water, they had splashed a lot of mud, and they were wet, a few of them, so that's possibly why they don't need any water now, and they're not drinking from this little pan. More interested in finding food. Cape turtle doves calling in the distance. Oh, I can hear some zebra also calling in the distance. It's wonderful in this afternoon. Afternoon light as the sun, the dusk, you have all these birds calling and different animals kind of giving off their last calls for the day. Look at all those. Oh, there's an impala. So I've got a fly buzzing around me at the moment. Let's continue to see which direction these elephants are going in. Oh dear. Looks like that female is in our way again. I've got a fly that's not leaving me alone. Oh, this is really very, very special. Lovely. I'm glad you could enjoy this with us. Going to go down here quickly. So Kat in Tampa has made a comment, and she would like to know, or she says it looks like we've gone from winter straight into summer without a spring. And Kat, you're right there to an extent. You're onto something, and the reason is because it's been so dry. We haven't had rain yet, so we haven't had. This is considered our spring. But we haven't had the rainfall we really want yet, so nothing is flowering like it normally would, and the vegetation hasn't become lush and very green just yet. So the heat, yes, the heat, but that's normal for this area this time of year. We start hitting these very high temperatures, mid to high 30s, and then eventually we'll get some rainfall and cools the temperature down a bit. Everything starts flowering, and it's a wonderful time of year as we move into the middle of our summer, which is December, January and February. That's the middle of our summer. So, but you're right, this is spring at the moment, but it looks and it feels like summer because it's so hot at the moment. But the temperature will drop again a little bit when we get some more rain. I think this is building for rain. There's a beautiful kudu bull just off to our left. Look at that. Not far from his elephant, but look at those horns. Those beautiful spiral horns of the kudu bull. You see that big beard running down his neck. Lovely. We've been fortunate with the amount of antelope we've seen this afternoon. That reedbuck, something so different, that was very exciting. Some impala ahead of us. Oh, it's still very muggy. It's not really letting up this temperature. It's cooled down a little bit, but it's still very, very warm. So, I mean, it's incredible that the lions are active during this heat, but I think it's because they've been so successful. They've been hunting, and they've killed a number of buffalo. And again, you know, we mentioned it this morning, and we've been speaking about it. We were fortunate enough to see a buffalo kill, or the lions bring down a buffalo. And I think at the moment it's because the buffalo are really struggling in this drought that we've been through. They haven't got the nutrients and the food that they normally would get this time of year. So they are a lot weaker and a lot easier for the lions to hunt. And I think those buffalo herds are hanging around in an area where the lions have been for quite some time. So all they're doing is, because they're so opportunistic, whenever the buffalo come through, all they do is they'll go and try and hunt the weakest of the herd of buffalo. And speaking about the lions, Taylor's still there. Let's see what they're up to now.
Are we watching the lions now devouring the buffalo? They've started to tuck in and try and open it up at the stomach, where she will try and pull out all those organs. And of course, the little cub is coming over to lend a helping hand. Not welcomed very warmly, though, by the lioness. A few little growls. And I think while we're watching the sighting, keep your volume turned up, because I think there'll be a little bit of squabbling over this carcass. Now remember, we are on a live safari, and I'd love to hear from you. I know Byron would love to hear from you too. Wow, that was an incredible message that's just come through. Jackie, thank you so much for keeping such fantastic tabs. Jackie says that we are on 47 of our cat day streak. And wouldn't it be great if we could reach to number 50? Isn't that exciting? Well, Jackie, you've just put lots of pressure on me tomorrow. We're going to have to muster up something. But I think thanks to all these buffalo that have been hanging around, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And hopefully we'll be going to find a leopard soon. And at least in the next few days. I've almost forgotten what they look like. Here we go. Come on, little ones. I think you need to help a little bit better rather than annoy that lioness. Ooh. You can see her there showing teeth. And I always think that these little cubs at this age, when they get to about 6 months, they become quite silly. And they think that they are the big bosses, or we would say, makulu induna, which means big boss in the local language. And I think that's what this little one thinks it is. But in fact, you are not, because we have learned that size does matter. Yes, I'm talking about you. The flies have now come back as it started to cool down. Like I said, I don't even think they enjoyed the heat today. This is fantastic. I'm glad though that they've started to tuck in just before it gets too dark for us to see them. The light is dropping very quickly, I'm afraid. David, have a look at that beautiful cloud that's now forming. I think we saw it earlier. I want to show you how it's progressing. See how it's becoming quite large, very much more like an anvil now, which is what we want. Those are the big thunderstorm clouds I was telling you about. You can just see the last of the sun catching the clouds there, that beautiful pink against the blue sky. That is really lovely. Let's hope that it keeps creeping in. Well, we actually want the wind today to keep blowing in those big clouds. No, she's up now. She's moving away. I'm going to take a lovely photo of her bloody face. You can see that. I always think it looks like they wear lipstick when they do this. She's coming right towards us, actually. Perhaps she'll give us a little look. Wowee. This is amazing. Well, we won't be able to go anywhere now. Sure, she's sitting really, really close to us, probably only about 2 meters away now. Now, Tony from Holland, you're wondering how old will the lion cubs need to be in order to be safe from being killed by any of the males? So I'm just moving out of the way here. Now, it depends. So the Nkumas were quite lucky because I believe with the takeover that came through, they were trying to kill some of the youngest lioness, but she managed to make it through. If I'm not mistaken, I think she lost a sibling, which was very unfortunate, if that is indeed correct, and I haven't imagined that in my head. Now, I think when they get to about 2 years old, they should be all right, theoretically, but I think they would also be a little bit cautious, just in case, perhaps move away until things would settle down. But if they're around a year old, they're definitely going to be killed, and at the moment, unfortunately, they would be taken out as well. This little one doesn't look very impressed that lioness didn't want to suckle. But I can't imagine you fitting anything else into your belly because it's so full. And that's a very comfortable spot. It's got its head on possibly mom's tail. Sometimes it's always hard to tell because they have such a strong bond between the various members of the pride. Very sweet when they put their heads on their paws like that. Very uncomfortable as well. Big bellies, hot day, flies bothering you. Not quite matching bellies. This lioness doesn't seem to have as big of a belly as the cub does. And isn't that a fantastic picture? You can see that I think they are definitely related, the way in which they were laying. You can see what I mean when I say that they have strong bonds between each other. Having a good old groom, cuddle, isn't that precious? Now, I hope you take some good screenshots because it's getting a bit light for me, dark for me now, to take some good photos, and that is absolutely adorable. Remember, you can share them on Twitter from #SafariLive. Oh, the wind is really picking up now. Sorry, I keep bumping my knee on my keys. I'm laying in a rather interesting position so that you can see over the top of my head. I think you see enough of the big blonde ponytail bouncing around. Don't want it to interfere with the lions. Now they've moved off of their carcass, having another rest. Like I said, there's absolutely no hurry to eat this buffalo. This will keep them going probably for a day and a half or so. It's not a particularly big buffalo that they've caught. Now, quite an interesting question that Ellen has posed for us this afternoon. Ellen, you'd like to know if the lions prefer to hunt and actively chase down their own prey rather than having to scavenge. Now, I don't think there's any preference. I think the fact that the Nkuhumas have just been so fantastic and so successful at the moment, remember, they haven't always been this successful. And I think it's a combination of the drought and the pans of water that are now sort of drying up that is bringing the herds back again, giving them opportunity to catch a buffalo. If there's only one or two around, it makes it also a little bit more difficult to choose a target. There's lots of young calves around that they seem to be snatching up. So I think if they aren't catching something themselves every day, perhaps they keep missing. They definitely wouldn't have walked past that buffalo that we saw this morning. Remember, they walked up to it and they did start to bite it and show a bit of interest, but there was distress calls from another buffalo going on in the distance, from the one young calf that they were taking down. And I think if it wasn't for those distress calls, then those lions would have happily sat around the second buffalo that we first saw. A lioness has now moved back over to the carcass. I need to sit up very carefully. That was not a very comfortable position I was in. Seems to be sick of trying to cut through the stomach and now just going back for the easily exposed area. Xylo from Hong Kong. You are very far away, and I'm so glad that you're watching the show. So well done for asking a really good question too. Now you are wondering, does the blood of the buffalo quench the lion's thirst, or does it do the opposite? No, it does. Blood has got a very high content of water into it, and we often see them lapping it up. We actually saw them lapping up the blood from the previous buffalo, which we had a look at earlier in the show, and I showed you the pool of blood, where they were drinking it from. So I think once they have gorged themselves a second time, they will perhaps go back across to Buffelshoek Dam and have a drink. I think that that's the closest water source here, maybe even Treehouse Dam. It's probably sort of equal distances away, but of course they take the shortcuts and go straight through the bush, which is often the shortest route anyway. But I'm just happy that they're back on Vuyatela again, back on Duma. Oh no, quickly. The one was panicking a little bit there, you saw. Maybe siblings being a little bit too rough. But that's a very important hold to try and practice, even if it means testing it on your sibling. At least they don't have needle-sharp teeth anymore. I think they're starting to get their adult teeth. Because you know what it's like when you first get a puppy and it's only a few weeks old. It's like they've got a mouth full of needles. I just want to very quickly say goodbye. Cheers. Maybe I'll bump into you tomorrow morning. Have a lovely afternoon. Cheers, Mike. Just saying goodbye to some wonderful guests that Mike has. They actually came with a lot of hellos from a couple of the guides I used to work for. A couple of the ladies on the vehicle had been to where I previously worked, so that was quite nice. Oh no, that's not nice to bite me on the face and in the eye. I think the cub on the left has bitten off a little bit more than it can chew. Tackling, then seems to be like an older sibling. Come on, fight back. Otherwise you're going to keep getting bullied. Now, we've been spotting the lions almost every single day now in the vehicles, and I know Louis from the UK is wondering if we ever come across the lions on bushwalk and what is sort of their behavior towards that. Now, also, once again, it depends on a couple of circumstances. So I've walked into lions many a time, and it depends on sort of their nature. So some of the lions are actually quite relaxed and don't mind you at all. But you can imagine if you were to stumble across them now with this kill, they probably wouldn't be too impressed with you, and they may growl at you and perhaps even give you a little bit of a charge because the cubs are around as well. They'd probably be a little bit more aggressive than usual. But if you were to bump into just the lionesses by themselves, I think that they would be all right. Every other encounter I've had, they've been fine. And these cubs are also old enough now, they're able to run away for themselves. They're not tiny and have to be carried around. So it just depends. If you block them, if you sort of come across and they're in a dense drainage line with a steep wall behind them and they feel like they cannot go anywhere else, what would you do in this situation? I'm almost certain that you'd probably act aggressively back to whatever was coming towards you. That's why we have to stop, look and listen quite often while we're walking, because the animals won't just charge, they'll give off a warning call, a warning sort of just call, from a snort to a growl, anything along those, a trumpet if it's an elephant. But it's relatively alright. And the one lioness seems determined to try and open up that buffalo. Not this one though, she's having a good sleep, a little rest, and she's still sitting right next to the vehicle. There we go, pulling and tugging at that hide. Right, this is lovely. But let's very quickly go across to Byron and see how his afternoon is going.
Wow, that's fantastic that you got to see all those lions again and the cubs feeding. That's wonderful. I'm so glad they're doing so well. They're very successful at the moment. It's great for those cubs and for the rest of the pride. We haven't had too much luck with anything else yet. I've got the spotlight out now, and Viam and I are trying to see if we can't find any nocturnal creatures. So everything from maybe a leopard coming out, walking along the road if we're really lucky, or also we're continuing our search for chameleons and little scorpions. Again, as I mentioned last night, it's been very, very dry, so a lot of these reptiles like the chameleons aren't active just yet. Hang on a second, let me just see something. I don't think so. No, that's a little flower that I see. Sure, I almost got excited there. So with it being so dry, there are not a lot of insects out yet. So the reptiles, like the lizards and the chameleons, they feed on a lot of the insects. So because there aren't a lot around at the moment, you don't get as much activity, and because there's not a lot of moisture, it's two little warthog just walking off, probably heading back to a burrow for the evening, going to go and rest and sleep, find safety within the termite mound. There's a kudu that moved off. There was some beautiful color in the sky earlier. It seems to have disappeared, but beautiful pink in the clouds. And I think there's some big clouds building, not really near us at the moment, in the distance to the south. But that's good. Maybe we're lucky and we still get some rain this evening. I'm going to continue our search for anything nocturnal. Taylor's still with the lions. Let's see what they're up to before we leave them.
We've still got the lions, and the light is fading very quickly, unfortunately. But we'll see how much longer we can stick with them before we lose complete light and go into total darkness. But luckily there's not too many clouds around just yet, well, where the sun is set, so it shouldn't affect the light too much. You can see these little three now. Oh, the middle one is definitely getting ganged up on. It's my favorite little lion cub, unfortunately, which is the mangy lion cub. It seems to be spreading a little bit more, which is quite sad, but we'll see if this one is able to make it through. Perhaps the strong genetics will kick in. Now, Andrew, you're wondering if I know where the Styx Lion Pride is. Unfortunately, I'm not certain as to where they are. The last time I heard they were on Nkoro. That was a couple of days ago. But I haven't seen them since, or even heard from any of the guides. Everybody seems to be just coming to the Nkuhumas, and I'm not even sure if the Salalas are around at the moment. They were hanging around on Arathusa for a couple of days too. It would be nice to see the Styx. The only time I've ever seen the Styx Pride was on my interview. I think one morning I went out with Jamie, and I saw the Styx and all their 8 cubs, but unfortunately that was the first and last time I've seen them. But I'm quite happy with looking at the Nkuhumas, and I wish the Styx the best, and I hope that they all recover and are able to have another set of cubs again. Now look at this little cub. He's very cheeky. Firstly, very annoyed by all the flies. You can see them buzzing around there. And all this lioness is trying to do is to try and get into the stomach in peace. But occasionally that little cub goes over and tries to join in and help. Oh, there we go. That looked like it could have split. Now, unfortunately, I can't really reposition because I've got a lion laying right next to me. Raisa, good evening to you. Wondering if the lions have been hunting more bulls or females or perhaps calves, and if it will make a difference in the future with taking a certain sex of a buffalo. Now, they've actually been catching both male and female, young ones, old ones, healthy ones, sick ones. They've been taking whichever one they can get. Now, the only difference it will make is that if they keep taking all the young juveniles, the calves, is because obviously then we're not going to have any progeny from the previous seasons to age. They just will keep taking all the little ones, and then there'll be no little new sort of genetics to come through. But I think it's almost impossible. There are so many buffalo around that I think they could probably at this rate keep going for another few months, and I don't think it would put too much of a dent on the population. Because remember, the buffalo breed every single year they have a calf, or almost every single year, maybe a year and a bit. You see, buffalo don't really have too much of a season as well. I've seen brand new calves in winter, I've seen new calves in summer, I've seen them almost at all year round. No, not having any of it. Get off my back. Why don't the two of you go and pull on that buffalo carcass and get your frustrations out on that instead of biting each other? But I suppose it's the reaction that they like when they fight with each other. Oh, there we go. Having a little nibble. It's amazing to see how strong they are getting compared to when I first arrived, and some of them were still a little bit wobbly, not really able to climb trees, and we saw them climbing the trees so well this morning, very briefly. They've definitely improved and are getting stronger and stronger as each day goes along. Oh, here we go. She's got a very dirty face. She must have been successful in opening up that carcass slightly. Oh, coming right over to the vehicle to say hello to this other lioness. They are right next to me. There we go, walking in front of the little light that I've put on. Don't worry, it's not a bright light, it's just a little LED light. I don't think it will affect the cubs too much like a bright spotlight would, so we're going to keep the spotlight off of these cubs. Oh, we've got a stalk that looks like it's going to be happening. Laying flat on the ground. Oh no. Your plan has been ruined by one of your siblings. No, look at that. That was quite funny. Decided on doing something and stuck to it right until the end. I'm going to squash you and sit on top of you. Oh, it is lovely here with that beautiful wind coming through again, and look at the lovely colors in the distance from the sunset with the lions. These are my favorite kind of afternoons, to be able to watch the light disappear, of course in the background with the nkuhumas in the foreground. Right, but we'll see if we can stick around with the nkuhumas for a little bit longer. But let's go back across to Byron very quickly.
So we still don't have any updates. Having a look around, no luck just yet. Wiem and I were just talking, we're saying it's a tricky time of the evening this, because it's not quite dark enough that all the nocturnal animals are coming out yet. So it's a bit harder with the spotlight, also because the spotlight's not bright enough to really see in the distance. But it's now getting to that time where it's a little bit better. So maybe we have some luck. Let's see, I'm looking very carefully in the trees and all over, just for any sign of something small, something interesting. There's some impala around here. Don't want to shine on them too much. Their eyes are very sensitive. But it's been a wonderful afternoon. We've seen some really interesting things. Some birds, different antelope, and a lot of elephant, which has been great. It's been wonderful spending time with those elephant. I really enjoyed that. They were everywhere today. Sorry, impala. There's another impala off to the side. Hoping to maybe even just spot an owl somewhere in these trees. The last time I was here in June, managed to find a number of giant eagle owls. I haven't heard any yet, but I'm going to carry on listening out for them. Maybe we're fortunate and we still find one in the next few weeks. Again, my multitasking is being put to the test, trying to shine the spotlights, look for animals and drive and stay on the road and chat to the camera. Going to be a pro at this by the end of the safari life stint. So it doesn't look like we've had any luck so far. I think we're going to say goodnight. It's been a wonderful afternoon with you. Hope you've enjoyed your sunset drive with us. VM, thank you and goodbye to VM on camera for me this afternoon. It was great having him with us. Thank you to the ladies in the FC. Thank you to all the viewers and for all your questions again and your comments. We love having them. Have a great evening. And Taylor's going to say goodbye now. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Good night.
Look at those stunning colors that I was telling you about just a moment ago. The sun is now set beyond the horizon. Isn't that lovely? Elizabeth, I'm glad you think that the sky is beautiful. It almost looks like it was on fire. It was so stunning. Now, we've got two of the cubs who have come through to get groomed. Oh, I can see some trouble. I'm going to try and angle this little light a little bit better. Can we have a look over there? I'm going to duck very quickly. Look at what's going on here. Little cub, and I know it's an awkward angle. I apologize. I just can't move. They're a bit close to me. Ooh, big growls. Turn your volume up. This male is not becoming very tolerant. Big yawn and back to sleep again. Not even the tail teasing that this cub did could get that male to carry on with his day. Although he sat back up again. Oh, and he's running after them. Let's see why he's running. Oh, trying to get a... Ooh, I'm putting a little bit of a... I'm actually using my torch at the moment because it's not as harsh as the other light. See how he ran over there? Perhaps she's still in estrus. Maybe she's coming out of it. And that's why he's hot on her heels. Now, of course, I think there's going to be a little bit of aggression shown towards the cubs if they get too close. I'm going to try avoid shining directly on the cubs. Like I said, my torch is not very strong though. Even when I shine it in my eyes, it's okay. Not that I'd like to do that though. He's going to sit down and sit nice and close. Off he goes. I'm going to very quickly turn the lights back around again. Have another look. One's got distracted, not really bothered by the kill at all, but instead has found a stick to play with. Here we go, having a little munch. Oh, there we go, that's nice. You bite Mom's neck. Mom is just trying to groom you. Now, I'm so sad to say this, but unfortunately, my time here with all of you is almost up. We've just got a couple of seconds left of the show, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much to everybody who was involved to put together this amazing afternoon. But myself and David will see you tomorrow for the sunrise safari. Good night.